Welcome back. Garth Riley here with Doug Anderson from Durham Election 2010.ca. Go to the website, see what all these people that we've invited the candidates on to answer a questionnaire. Doug, you have another question that you want to fire at them because that's what you do.
That's what I do.
And then I wreck the whole evening after that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's carrying on from where we were before. You mentioned during the break. You mentioned the Stop the Stink, and of course that's one of the big environmental issues that's been in Durham region, and in Clarington, of course, the big environmental issue was the incinerator.
Absolutely.
Both of them went through processes which were badly flawed. How would you fix this situation? And I'm not specifically talking about the actual projects, but basically in terms of the process and whereby they came through. And you can comment on the projects too if you like. Sure, but go for it.
Projects.
Yeah, you know, I have to agree. You know, the EFW, the incinerator, whatever you want to call it, from the very beginning. And at that point in my career, I had to watch it as an innocent bystander because I had to be objective. But in my mind, from day one, we knew there would be an incinerator in Durham region somewhere. And then as the process went on, it became clear it was in Clarington. When you look at a single option from the very beginning, and I understand Durham region had a bylaw that said, you know, we will not entertain looking at landfill again, okay? But when you introduce a single option, you have to know that at the end of it, it's going to happen. And that whole process, you know, you had people saying, well, we need to take this next step before we make the final decision. Well, you don't have to be a brain surgeon to figure out that, okay, well, that next step's going to lead to this and this and that. I think that the biggest challenge, and what I would have liked to have seen is, you know what, if the issue was, you know, we have some waste issues, we have to do something, then put everything back on the table and start from scratch. You know, forget the fact that a bylaw had been created, I think it was in '98 or whatever the year was exactly, and say, okay, times have changed, 10 years have gone by, there are new alternatives, here's the challenge, what are the options, and let's study them all together. It might have meant more money in a study, but
at any time in that process, all it would have taken is a majority on regional council to can the whole thing. It didn't happen. Now, that's part of the process problem, is basically that too many people on regional council either weren't paying attention or whatever. And so, but that's all it would have taken is a majority on regional council.
But to Steve's point, he's saying that anytime only one option is presented to the public, it seems like it's a fait accompli. And
it seems like it, yeah,
right.
I agree.
So you would say that the process should be more robust, open up whatever, give more options to the public.
Yeah,
and no wonder people don't have any faith in the process because it looks like it was a stacked deck.
Yeah, you know, but those politicians also designed that process.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, of course they did.
They designed that process.
I'm not sure who designed it, but
there's a master architect.
It was designed
they're definitely
well
benefiting from
back in the you know, back in good 10 years ago probably.
You know,
it was
I think Nostradamus had something to do with it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, something has to happen with that waste, but you know, yeah, did that process really fulfill the mandate of saying, you know, what do we do with it? In a single-minded way, it did. Yes.
Yeah. Would you like,
in my opinion,
like Henry Ford said, you know, we have. Would you like a black car or a black car? That was your choice, and that's what you were given back then, James.
Well, the process in itself is flawed in a lot of things because, as you said in your previous show that you were taping that I was lucky enough to sit in on, there was individuals that seem that no matter what you do, you can get your community organized, you can get them mobilized, you can have everyone show up ensemble together to make something happen. Oh, but sorry, folks, listen, this is the process. You missed Form 3B7. Sorry, you guys are too late. This is unacceptable. Policies, procedures, and the bureaucracy in itself cannot take place of good governance. Good governance has to be what is truly in the best interest of the citizens. Now, if you have council who are hoping in biding their time for a provincial seat, if you have council that are hoping and biding their time for a federal seat, you can't help but get individuals looking to do what is good for said political parties in the area. Now, let's face the facts, as we said initially on break. If the government of the day is willing to put a gas-fired power plant in Holland Marsh, or in the Holland Marsh area, and in the wetlands, or in the tributaries around the Holland Marsh, That area is more sensitive than our area. I'm sorry, it is. If they're willing to do that, you can say goodbye to Pickering. We're fighting a losing battle if the people truly don't get mobilized and stand up and fight. Nobody is interested until I show them documents from York Region saying that these roads will open up. Now, guess why they're opening them up? Because now they can develop up there. Oh, and your nice quiet road that you're paying your house for, your taxes for $6,800, maybe $7,000 a year, that nice road in front, they're going to widen that. That's going to be a speedway. First thing the guy says, I want a sign on my yard with your name on it, because you make the issue personal.
But we go back to it's about the process, and the process seems flawed, and all the way through it, it's like even we go to land developer issues. By the time it gets to the sign being put up, it's the most minimalistic way that government can notify the population, and they say they've done their job. They could have sent out canvassers, they could send out e-blasts, they could actually engage local politicians, they could mobilize. Their best attempt in this day and age is a large sign that says notice of bylaw change, and hope that somebody driving by at 80 kilometers an hour sees it and notices it and can read the 5,000 words on there.
A classic example of that is right downtown Pickering at Rougemount, where there's a brand new development where I think there's 45 units or 48 units in it. There is no place to park bloody cars in the place. It is so close to the highway that it now blocks off the small strip mall there, that people can't, it's a monstrosity out in the street. I don't know how it got passed. From my understanding, the neighborhood was all against it. They went to the meetings, they did everything they were supposed to do, yet at the end of the day, it's there. Now, is it the OMB? Potentially, I think that's something everyone has to take a look at. I think that cat needs to change, unquestionably. But I think that the process is definitely flawed, and when people want to change it and they do everything they're supposed to do and they fail because of the policies and or the procedures, next time they just throw up their hands. And this is what's happening in our community.
26% vote.
If I can, one of my observations, having been in the newspaper business, etc., and having watched politicians go from where you are to being elected, I have seen a lot of politicians just sort of become totally
morphed.
Just morphed in the process, because staff basically does run things, and basically they take you under their wings and they lead you around. And if you're willing to be led around, you become part of the system.
When's the last time a staff member's been fired?
You know, I think the biggest challenge for anybody running, and then if they're successful, is, you know, it's council's role to set the tone. Okay, it's staff's role to execute, and that can never be forgotten. And I think that really comes down to the people that you vote in. If you vote somebody in who is going to set the tone, and I don't mean they walk in and go, blah, 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 this is the way it's going to be, but they have to say, the reason we are in place is to set the vision and provide the guidance, because we're receiving the input of the community. Now, as a staff, you have to execute it. Okay, and there has to be a balance,
There's
right?
got to be a
You
balance.
can have somebody crazy going in there saying,
and we have to remember too, as people running, we are basically employees of the citizens.
Temporary for 3.5 years.
Basically 3.5 years, because when people throw up their hands because they're trying to get reelected again for the next 6 months. You're absolutely right.
Everybody doesn't. We're gonna have to break, but I guess one question I've got. And you're in the teaching profession, so I'm going to say it. There are two industries. One is municipal government, and the other one is teachers. But just going to throw it out. When people don't do their job right, when's the last time you saw any of these people, other than flagrant things that would threaten a lawsuit, any one of these people who made a bad decision, who made a bad judgment, when's the last time any one of those have lost their job and we've heard about it? When there's been millions of dollars of boondoggles done and people made mistakes and or blocked variances that because they thought they could, no one loses their job municipally. I've not seen it. It doesn't happen. They get shuffled or they get starred. And, you know, quite frankly, if I was running, I'd be out there kicking butt. We'll be back with more of this interview when we come back.